Macarin strode aimlessly through the aftermath of the last battle of his life. The land was parched, dry and cracked, a flat, barren landscape stretching beyond sight. It was littered with tall heaps of rotting corpses. The stench of rotting meat filled the hot, windless air. There were hundreds of thousands of the dead, maybe millions. He didn't know how many, honestly. What was one undead slave among so many? The blood gauntlets, the void triangles, specialist sect of necromancers, corpse manipulators and summoners had enjoyed an era of blood revelry. They created shambling ghouls by the thousands, only slightly less of the crazed blood drinkers, a few hundred of the vengeful, terrifying revenants, and even a lich. Macarin kicked the burned head of a dead ghoul. Blood and brain matter splashed against his shiny black boot. His large chest heaved a sigh of celebration's end. His almost colourless eyes surveyed the ruins of the armies that the void triangle once commanded. His tiny black pupils in milky white shifted from one heap to another. He remained careful not to disturb the ash piles, as these were likely the remains of the masters, now returned to the Great Mother, Oblivion. As he looked, Macarin's eyes had to tolerate the glare of the sun. He would have liked something to strangle as he thought on it. His mind was so focused and clear it felt as though he was becoming a god. With so many souls swallowed up into his will, how could he believe otherwise? Macarin looked down at another corpse and a smile played on his cold blue lips. The body belonged to the King of Terrell, peasant, soldier, ruler or magus. It didn't matter. The entire world was so very nearly nothing more than their collective source of unlimited power. This king and his nation were the Third Kingdom, conquered by the Order of the Void Triangle. Terrell was home to the healers and geomancers of the Earth Phoenix clan. Of the 4 remaining mage clans, they had been the second easiest to wipe out. Their greatest challenge was the Crimson Imperial Flames, the Kassarin Emperor's personal combat major. They were violent, brutal, and well-trained. In the darkness, the Crimson Imperial Fire clashed with the purple, blue, and emerald fires of the sect's annihilation worms. It was their favorite and most devastating hellfire spell. In the end, the Imperial Magi were also defeated, burned away until not even their souls remained. Macarin pulled the hood of his long black cloak forward, giving his cold, pale face more shadow for comfort. He rubbed his short-trimmed auburn beard, feeling the accursed sunlight spill into the sleeves of his black tunic and onto his bulky arms. Macarin Eternal. Macarin turned his bear-sized body to face the lanky, tall shape of a youth. He was anything but the grinning child he seemed. He wore the traditional black tunic, pants, boots and gloves. His long black cloak draped his back down to his heels. The hood was pulled forward, hiding his colourless eyes and short white blonde hair. Great Mother embrace you, Hellfire Emil. What brings you to my melancholy retrospect? Emil was generally a giddy pyromaniac. Macarin thought his remark would earn some crazed, optimistic retort. The boy's pale face was set and grim, though. It even seemed it would stay that way a while.
The Oblivion emissary wishes to speak with all of us.
Macarin, leader of the Shadows Eternal, nearly supreme patriarch of the Void Triangle, wasn't as successful at hiding his anger. His gloves creaked as his fists clenched. He ground his teeth. I think we should speak indeed. But this last battle, this ending, stoked hot fires of rage in Macarin that were better suited for a hellfire imbued. I want to know why we were told to hold back against an enemy that was cutting us to ribbons. It seemed the prophet gave the young hellfire imbued an almost religious zeal, but took away the memory of why. Macarin wanted to know how a speaker for the masters could perform such a flawless manipulation of the mind. After half an hour of walking around the piles of bodies, carefully avoiding the ashes, they finally arrived at the pavilion. Though it was as large as a small palace, a number of Void disciples managed its location and storage within seconds.
I know it all looks bleak, Macarin Eternal, but have a little faith.
Hellfire Emil, every Void disciple is trained with the knowledge that faith is one of many illusions. It is used by those with the delusion of power to abuse those they view as inferior.
Do you acknowledge the goal of the Great Mother?
The goal of the Great Mother, the primordial essence of nothingness, was the end of all life and death, a return to perfect stillness. That's a foolish and poorly misplaced question, Hellfire Emiel. My ambitions are always in the interests of the Great Mother and her goal. Do not think to take me...
He does no such thing, Macarin Eternal.
His madness was as tangible an aura as the stench of rotting flesh and sulfur.